Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to a new episode of Social Confoes. I'm your host, Diego, together with my co host, Sean-Luc. Sean-Luc, we're back. How's it
Yes,
going?
we are back. It's going great. It's going amazing. And it's something that we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, we would like to invite you, if you're listening to Social Confos, not to forget that we are on YouTube at youtube.com/ at confos at CONFOES. And of course, we're also on Instagram at confos. And let's not forget Substack. We're also on Substack, confos.substack.com. And if you subscribe to our Substack, you get nice bits of information every month about what we're up to. So, what are we up to today, Diego?
We are going to talk about ways to challenge yourselves, ways that you can get new ideas, ways that maybe how to get out of a rhythm, get new perspectives, or maybe try something entirely new if you're kind of bored or stuck in some form or whatever. So
So, first,
that's,
first question: do you believe in challenges? What's
I
your
think,
general take on challenges?
like define belief, right? So if we're talking about challenges are something to overcome. So in that sense, yes, I do believe in challenge. A challenge is something worthy to overcome, to improve upon, to just get better. Like from the moment we're born as babies, it's everything you do is a challenge. Like learning to walk, learning to crawl. So apply that same principle to your now developed adult life, and basically you've overcome one of the hardest challenges as a baby already.
Yeah, so
So
there
in
are
that sense,
challenges
I would say yes.
yes. Okay, so today with my children, I was watching Mr. Beast videos because we have to find a common ground on what we watch on television, which is weird saying we're watching Mr. Beast on television, but for the sake of it, just hear me out. So we're looking at
Quick
one
side
of
note: wasn't Mr. Beast? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he also popular in the beginning, making videos for kids? Or
well,
am I
yes,
missing?
he's yeah, well, Mr. Beast started off with Minecraft, like his first 100 videos or something were like either Roblox or Minecraft videos.
Yeah,
Pretty damn sure. So that's how he started. But back then he was still a kid himself. He was like 12 or something. I don't know exactly how old, but he wasn't that old, or maybe even 8. He started at a really, really young age. And he already at a really, really young age knew he wanted to be the best YouTuber in the world. So I think that's also something that you have to take into account. But he does a lot of challenges. And the challenge that I was looking with my children today was you get $10,000 for the every day you stay in the woods. So basically, two people get dropped off in the middle of the woods, and basically you have to survive there as long as possible. And every day that you survive, you get $10,000, which was really interesting. It was a very interesting dynamic between the two guys who participated as well. They lasted well over 2 months, which is insane. Just
do
think
you
about it.
think on the topic of Mr. Beast and the challenges videos that you have, and I want to bring back a show from way back in the day, Fear Factor. Do you
Okay.
think the monetary aspect plays a role in the who participates in these types of challenges and the outlandishness of these challenges?
Well, I don't know how the selection process in these videos is, but we very rarely come across a Mr. Beast video whereby just somebody phones it in. It's like, yeah, I'm not really like the larger ones, yes. Like
Mhm.
when you're talking about there's 100 people in a circle and the first 30 walk out, yes, there will be some in there who kind of underestimated the challenge and were like, yeah, okay, this is not really for me, and I'm not gonna compete with these 70 people that wanted much more than me. But when it's like I get selected out of tens of thousands of people to participate in a Mr. Beast video, I'm gonna knock this one out of the park. Like these contestants are all in. They were really on it. And I also think, for the sake of the video, they do a pretty good screening to see if the person is dedicated or not. I think there was one in a supermarket. Like every day you stay in a supermarket, it's 10,000. That guy was amazing. Like, but this one was really interesting because there are two guys. They're both in a relationship, but one has a child which is not even a month old.
Mm.
So just imagine your life changed completely.
Yeah,
Like
that.
you're to give birth to your second child, like your wife is about to give birth to your second child, and Mr. Beers calls you up and says like, "Hey, by the way, you're one of the two people in our next video, and you have to stay out in the woods as long as possible." And you're like, "Okay, I just had a child," and you look at your wife and is like, "Hey, sorry, babe, but I'm gonna go to the woods and stuff."
Maybe she's the one saying like, "You're still here."
Uh, yeah, like, and well, no, halfway through the video, after I think a month, he asked his wife, like, "Hey, how long can I push this?" And she was like, "I need you back home now. You need
Mm.
to be with your children." But he lasted another month, and that's mainly to the other guy. And the other guy at the end was the one that felt guilty and pulled the trigger, saying, like, "No, you have to go home to your kids." But by then, they've raised over, I think, close to $700,000.
Mm.
So I mean,
It's
if you
close
split
to
that
two
up,
months to
300
60 days.
300K dollars for staying in the woods. Remember all those Facebook posts like, if you have to stay in a cabin of woods
Yeah,
without
yeah.
internet
Would you
for a
do it?
million dollars,
It's
would you
basically
do it?
that
Well,
meme. Yeah.
this basically it's that meme, right? And they stayed out for 2 months and got $300,000 each. I mean, that's life changing money. Your children are basically set, right?
So
You don't
I'm
have to
curious.
worry.
You watch this with your kids, right?
Yeah, I watch this with my kids.
So what was their? Did you talk to them about it? Like how did they? Was it pure
My daughter
entertainment for
is
them?
No, my daughter is very conscious of decisions, and we talk rationally about certain decisions that are being made. My son is, yeah, I would give up $10,000 for a bar of Feastables. And I'm like, what? So my son is, at this point in his life, totally not conscious about the worth of money, but only conscious about the worth of brands. And he would give away $10,000 for a Feastables bar in those kind of situations. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, once you grow up and you're gonna realize you're not gonna do that anymore. But at this point, it's fun because he's very brand conscious, but he isn't brand conscious in the sense that we have to buy all these brands for him. It's just when he has the money to buy a certain brand and you would give him the freedom, he would just splurge it. So my daughter makes the conscious decisions, and my son is like, hey, I just search for something I want really, really bad, and then that's my only purchase. I don't need anything else.
Mm.
So that's kind of a really different kind of personality. It's really interesting. But the idea about the challenges, it does come from like these videos, and you're like, and I was thinking like, how long would I go for? And I was like, I told my daughter like I would do a month, and she's like, why? And I was like, when you do a month, it's 300K divided by two. Okay,
It's
you have to put it's
tactical
a
basically.
hundred. First of all, 100K is enough that you're like, this was worth the challenge, right? It's not even a discussion. Like 100K is like, it was worth the challenge, right? Being away for 10 days or 20 days or 30 days. And then the reason I was like after a month is because I value a month as like a 30-day challenge. And
Yeah.
I've done, I think, 4 or 5 30-day challenges from different perspectives. And I kind of like the format. I was successful 3 out of the 5 times, and I'm doing my sixth, but I like successful in the sense that I fully completed it and I kept on doing it till the end of the month. Um,
What do you think
but
the
yeah,
allure is that these challenges pop up? And I think the 30-day challenge is a popular format, right? But what's the allure for people to partake? And usually it's very community driven as well, and people share it like publicly as a way for
yeah.
either accountability. what's the driving factor behind it? Why it's so popular?
Okay. Okay. So first of all, it's doable. I think that's the most important thing. You can challenge yourself for a month. I think the other aspect of what makes it interesting, if you properly do it, it becomes a routine. And I think that's ultimately what people strive for. So in most cases, also the ones that I managed to get through were routine based kind of
Yeah, it's
30-day challenges.
basically starting a new
Yeah.
habit, right?
Yeah, it's
Like,
it's basically to form a new habit or to drastically change something. And maybe I've done more. It's actually more than five. I've done it, but it also depends on what it is. Like it's very different to do a 30-day challenge to create content versus a 30-day challenge to only drink water, for instance. A 30-day challenge to only drink water is actually not that hard. Once you get past the first week, it's actually kind of normal already. And you don't actually, the idea of getting sugar in, it's like weird, which is much more different compared to a 30-day challenge, for instance, for staying off social media.
mm.
But it does clear your mind. And that's the main difference between the 30-day challenge that I'm doing now and the 30-day challenges that I've done before, or successfully, often like drinking water or
Is the current
no
30-day challenge
sugar.
also public? Or
No, well, it's public in a sense that I do post daily, but I don't promote it. It's more for myself. It's a more documentation, and also, I mean, we can disclose it here. I don't mind people that are tuning into social confos to know like what the challenge is about. But it's not something that I think the challenge will be misinterpreted if I publicly would do it. It's kind of a heavy challenge. It's doing 20 different tasks a day. And it's not necessarily that I do all those 20 tasks, but mainly that I document the process of what's sticking and what isn't sticking and why isn't it sticking and how
that's an
much effort does it take.
interesting framing for a challenge.
Oh yeah, this is by far
That's
the
an
most
yeah.
extreme
I'm
challenge I ever
thinking
did.
about it now, and you mentioned like for you it's the documentation part, right?
Yeah, because I've
Like,
tried this before without doing a 30-day challenge,
yeah,
but the documentation doesn't stick. So you have to make the documentation
like
part of the
how
challenge.
extensive if you're talking about documentation here, like previously when it didn't work, like how extensive was it
No, I
versus
mean, previously when it didn't work, I didn't connect it to a challenge. It was like, hey, I want to start doing this every day. And then I
Mhm.
would do it like the first 2 days. And then after that, it would just
Yeah,
completely
just like every New
evaporate.
Year's resolution. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because there's no like, now there's a commitment. The commitment is also, it's not that it's public, but I do have a commitment to a mastermind group that I update them on a daily basis. So that's
Yeah,
something
okay.
that
There's a counterparty for
there is a
accountability.
counterpart. Not a heavy counterpart, but there is a counterpart. And secondly, and also because we're experiencing the same things in a mastermind group, where we're experiencing the same like, hey, I need somebody external to motivate me at the moment, but I actually need to motivate myself. But it's also for me to make clear like where I get stuck, because there are certain things on the list that I'm like, hey, I'm starting to notice there's a trend that I'm not doing this. So, for instance, four is reach out. So, daily goal four is send a loved one a message how you feel about them and why you're grateful for them.
Mm.
Like, that's something I really want to do, but it's something that's not scheduled in, if you understand what I mean. It's not something
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I've scheduled in, like, hey, that time of the
It
day,
sounds a
I want
very
to do it.
simple thing, but it
Yeah, it's something that you would usually do like a singular 30-day challenge. Saying like, hey, I'm gonna reach out to these 30 people and I'm gonna say that they're awesome, right? And then I'm also using this as a mental preparation to think about it. And if I don't actually work on the task, that I do work towards making it possible for me to work on the task for a daily basis. So I am honest in that. But for me, it's just taking a piece of time every day to at least think about it.
mhm. Okay. That's interesting. I'm curious to how the documentation process will go.
Okay, so
But
so if you want a live demonstration, we can do it. I mean,
oh,
that's fine. So let's start with the first one, which is uh, go to bed before midnight. Like that's one of the biggest things that I really want to achieve. And it's easy as going after this episode. Usually on the Tuesdays, I would do something or try to do something, and I get stuck in my ways, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I only get like 4 hours of sleep, right? So that's one of the main things. And somebody last week said like, "Hey, it all starts with sleep," and I said, "Yeah, that's right." So for me, that's the main thing.
yeah,
So I'm
like
counting, yeah,
on the sleep note, quickly want to interject. Like I do have a few non-negotiables or things I'm not very lenient on, and one of the things is sleep. Like I do try to get that 8 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. If I go to bed by 2 a.m., I'm usually wake up around between 8 and 9, and then
yeah, yeah. So that's also a thing. I have to get up by I think latest 6:30. So that's the latest I should get up. And sleeping before 12 basically means I have 6.5 hours of sleep, which is not enough. So you want to push it more towards, and it's basically telling myself, like, hey, once you're done at night, don't think like, yeah, I still have energy to do it. No, you don't. Just accept that you don't. Just go to bed. So that's the first. And yesterday I failed. Not necessarily intentionally. I locked the house at around midnight, but it still took me a process of over 30 minutes to get into bed. So then I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna be if I'm in bed after 5 after midnight, I'll count it as like goal achieved. But if it's like over half an hour later, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna count that. So for that one, I failed. Like, and then I count yesterday's as for today, right? Then the second one is the morning routine. So bring the kids to school on time is the main important one. And then in the weekend, I set a time goal instead of bring the kids to school because that makes sense. And that one is a check mark. So that went well. Then the third one is a really interesting one. Exercise 30 minutes a day. And basically, that just starts with a morning stretch. And we've introduced this now within our team. And there are some people participating when I do it in the morning. So I'm getting some colleagues to join
oh,
in.
you do this in the office. That's
Yeah,
fun.
I
That
just
sounds fun.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I do this also to get like a little bit of accountability and get people involved. I do this and I tell them like, hey, 8:15. If you're in the office, I'm doing stretches. You can join me, right? And it's just a 15-minute stretch. We're kind of building it out, but it's something fun to join. And like a lot of people are like, wait, I'm feeling things like, oh, I do need to. And then you realize like, and I mean, in other countries, there's even people. Some companies have that on their monitor, like, "Hey, you've been sitting for 3 hours. You need to stand up and stretch." Right? So it's already something that I want people within the company to feel like, "Hey, I need to stretch." That they can just get up and stretch, and that they have
Yeah.
some
So
basic stretch exercises to do as well.
going on that monitor thing, or wearing something, or having it on your phone, getting a notification, I've actually become desensitized from it because my watch tells me, you've been sitting an hour, you need to make a
Ah,
few more steps to get the average. And
yeah.
basically, it's just white noise for me right now. Oh, I get it beep. Oh, okay. But
Yeah, but that's also the problem with these kind of things
yeah,
because yeah, it doesn't reach you anymore because it's kind of like this notification that just pops up. So I just decided to do it 8:15 in the morning because that's the easiest moment. That's people when people are still starting up. So for me that's a regular thing. And then today electricity was out at the office
oh, yeah.
and we have to go a lot of stairs and then you have to go back and get stuff. So yeah, I got my exercise in within the first hour of being at the office. Because all those staircases, I'm like, hey, I'm good for today. I, I, I mean, I can call this as an exercise, which would be like yesterday would be playing football with my son, right? So that's that often the second part
Do
of the exercise.
during the documentation process, do you also note like, okay, this went well, and you make a note why it went well, or I didn't make it this time, and put a descriptor, or is it just a tracking of yes, no?
I want to, for me, it's more spending spending the time during the day, every day, spending some time on that specific task. I want that to be part of my life. That's the
Mm.
main focus. So I want to do it on a daily, so that's a daily routine, and then I stick to that daily routine. So that's the main thing. I'm also trying to figure out like which days are the most difficult ones. That's something that I want to have data to look at and at the end say like,
Yeah.
hey, okay, this is why I'm stuck. Because right now I don't have data and don't I have an idea where I get
Yeah.
stuck,
So
but I
in that sense, to rephrase the question,
yeah.
is it more like quantitative data, or do you also
No, it's for now it's
collect
quantitative data. No, it's
quantitative?
quantitative data. What I do want from the other side, which I'm currently not really doing yet, but what I do want is to be able to plan it. Because now when I'm doing it on a daily, I can plan ahead and say like, hey, the next week I want to focus on this, and then I can say upfront what I want to focus on. That's the end goal. First is getting those hours in every day, and then when I get those hours in every day, I can say like, hey, next Monday I want to do this in that time block. Then Tuesday I want to focus on this. Wednesday focus on that, and then it makes it easier for me as well to either do something or delegate it to somebody else or to know where it fits in. So that's the main goal for now. So no, not that qualitative yet. So then
Yeah.
we get to four, which I already mentioned, send a message. And this should be an easy thing, but it should also be a thoughtful message. So I haven't been able to work this one in as the challenge is going on. Then uh, five is eat a frog, a long overdue task that needs to be done.
Eat a what?
A long overdue task that needs to be done. Do you know the book, right? By I think it's Brian Tracy, Eat a Frog. Have you heard of that book?
The phrase sounds vaguely familiar. I'm just trying to place it.
So basically, the concept is if you eat a frog every day, like in the morning, first thing in the morning, you eat a frog,
Yeah.
like basically your day cannot get any worse. So
You've done
try
the
to do,
worst, right? Yeah.
yeah, try to do the hardest thing first thing in the morning,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And for me, I was busy doing it and then I got interrupted. So this is still pending, and I will see after this session if I still have energy to do it or not. Otherwise, it's just a loss, and then I wasn't able to make it work. Right. Um, then the next one is having a daily scheduled meeting. So basically, I have daily calls every day to talk about the day. Here, this is what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna focus on, and so on. And wow, I now really have to think how we fixed it this morning because we didn't have an actual call. Or did we? Hold on. Yeah.
So, in that comparison,
Yeah.
because now we're talking about something, a routine for yourself, but then this particular point also encompasses the larger team, right?
Yeah. In some cases, I want to. So often when these things arise, I want to have somebody who's like an accountability buddy, right? Because it's really hard to do it on your own. So you want to have somebody there by your side that is also part of it. That you don't want to disappoint that person. I think
Mm.
that's the main thing for me. I don't want to disappoint that person, so I'm gonna try to make it work. But this morning, basically, um, was a terrible busy day in general, if I think back at it. So, okay, then we get to the regular stuff. And then I have a couple of things that are regular work stuff. Then I have a couple of things that I aspire to do. And then there are a couple of regular social media content stuff things, right? So the next one is work on the company. And there, just like with the Eat of the Frog, I basically have kind of daily teams. So on Monday, it's HR. On Tuesday, it's
Yeah.
education. On Wednesday, it's finance. Thursday, it's branding. Friday is operations. So that's really easy. And those things are planned in. And yeah, I worked like crazy on those today. So yeah, not much to say for that one.
Checked off.
Yeah, that one was checked off. Like that one never fails me because my team doesn't leave me alone in those kind of situations. So I have to do it. And
Yeah,
then,
like it,
yeah.
just from listening to you, the trend I'm getting is the task where you involve other people have a lower rate of not getting done.
No, not necessarily. Unfortunately, no. You would think, but no, no. That's. I think the main thing because we're getting to the next one, and this is where it gets tricky. The next one is billables. So my billable hours within the company, because I do a lot of things that I work on the company, but I also have to be billable. That's like a commitment that I made to myself, saying like, hey, I have to be billable as well. Especially if you're like um, leading the team, but also salary wise, you shouldn't be a burden. And this is something I believe is quite new in the entrepreneurial field. But I feel like, hey, if you are one of the most expensive people in a company, you need to be billable in some certain way, right? Otherwise, it all goes in the overhead, and the the cost price calculations get really expensive, and then you have to supercharge, and it's like, okay, but you're charging for this, but you're not the one delivering the work. So that's something also, especially in a business to business field. If you're in production, it's completely different. But if you're in like in a service industry, I'm like, I feel like, yeah, I still have to be billable, at least in a certain sense. I cannot be completely in the overhead of the company. And then what's also interesting, Tuesday is my strategic session day,
Mhm.
which means, and that's also something that I've written down, and that's also something I want to test because these Tuesdays become really tough on me. And for instance, the billables for today, on Tuesday it's 4 hours, and then the other days is half an hour, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
it's an
the
intense
sessions
session.
are today was like at least 4 to 6 hours that I worked on things that were billable. So then the skill completely shifts into one direction, and then a lot of things don't get accomplished anymore. But yes, we did have strategic session today. So from that perspective, from financially for the company, it was a good day. But for me, being able to complete this challenge, not that much. Um, yeah, and then the next one is sustainable business, and actually that's where this social confoes comes in because I've listed social confoes under sustainable business on the Tuesdays, making sure
I'm
that
I'm
we,
curious
yeah,
to that naming convention.
okay. So for me, sustainable business is saying like, hey, I have different companies. There are different family companies. In the end, is social Confoes a business venture? Yes or no? In the end, is Confoes a brand that 20 years from now, it's a source of income? Yes, it is. So I list it as part of sustainable business, saying like, hey, I'm doing this as an investment for later,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Now I
So
get that. Yeah,
I
sustainability.
do,
Like,
yeah, I do want to focus on this and I want to do this on the daily. And every day I have something else, whether it's family business or a podcast or something that's for the long haul, it's for the long term. And then I make sure, like, hey, it's still part of it.
so where are we at
Then we
now?
get into a
Twelve,
territory
13.
where, yeah, no, we're at 10. 10, 11, 12 are things we're going to skip because I haven't been able to just fit it in. I'm just being honest. I haven't. I haven't figured out how I fit that in. Then there are three more focused on build a better business. Oh, actually, the sustainable business part I didn't do because with that for Confoes, I've blocked 2 hours on a Tuesday. Build a better Suriname. That's number 15 is what we're doing now. But the sustainable business one is actually working on getting new guests for social convos, working on getting sponsor or brand deals and getting those worked out, basically building the social convos brand.
Mm.
So actually, I have to be honest. No, I didn't do um, 8, but I did do 15.
And 15 was Suriname
Build a
blend.
better, build a better sooner. Then we have things like social media content, spend an hour making content, which I didn't do, and social media management, which I did do, like going through all my socials, reading
So
upon, touching upon
uh,
stuff.
on that
Yeah.
note, I'm curious about the change in cover photo today
Okay.
of our favorite influencer.
Yeah. Influence wisher. I call him an influence wisher in Dutch. Um, so uh, I'm a big fan of Original Pimu, who is an illustrator and a cartoonist. And
And
he,
kind of a meme in
no, he's
himself.
he's a cartoonist.
Yeah.
He's a cartoonist, but he uh, jumped into something it's trending, and he made his own trend out of it. And he made his own trend out of it in such a way that other designers, but also even Surinamese companies jumped in on the trend. He did it in such a way that it was cool enough for Surinamese companies to jump in on the trend. And
That's
I
saying
looked at
something.
those, and I looked at his code, and it's like, yeah, these are kind of interesting. So I was looking at one that would fit, and one of the quotes was, and we have to translate it, of course, because it's a little bit different when you would how would you translate that quote?
Like,
An hour has 60 minutes, but basically
yes,
it's saying like it's kind of like this self-explanatory quote saying like
it's stating the obvious,
it's
basically,
stating the
right?
obvious. It's like saying an hour has 60 minutes.
and
I'm giving you my wisdom for free. An hour has 60
and the
minutes.
way I I think people read it, also with the design and the you know his name at the bottom, like it's a
Yeah,
quote.
they
Like
would read it in his
you read
voice.
in a very
Yeah,
profound, yeah, in his very profound voice.
yes, it's almost like a quote from a movie. My son, an hour
And
has
how
60
the
minutes.
60 minutes.
It's like,
The sun also
oh,
shines on Sunday.
the sun also shines on Sunday. Like it's like these fun quotes, and so I took one of them out as a quote for a new cover photo for my Facebook page, and people enjoyed that much more than I thought they would enjoy it. But it was a fun way to interact. And yes, I didn't do as much as I wanted to do, so I didn't create content, but I at least went through all my socials, well, not all of them, the more important ones, and responded to messages as well, because that's also something that is included. And I'm now looking like, hey, I should really consider changing one of these and creating like WhatsApp. I think I'm going to change. Yeah, that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to add WhatsApp officially as one of my social media challenge channels because, oh my God, WhatsApp is a lot of work, man. For me, WhatsApp is a lot. I think I struggle with WhatsApp most.
Are you using like WhatsApp Business? Because I've never jumped into WhatsApp Business and the features it has.
Yeah.
And
Oh, WhatsApp Business is great. To be completely honest, WhatsApp Business is great. but it wouldn't make a difference. I think the only difference it would make is that my friends would get annoyed from getting automated messages from me. Like,
Hey,
dude,
Jean-Luc.
seriously, hey Shanik, what do you want to
Okay.
do? Thank you for contacting me. They were like, dude, seriously. But so that's the reason I'm not doing it. Uh, like I'm doing a lot of things. So I sometimes have to tell people that send me a message, like saying like, hey, you're gonna have to email me this. Like if you want me to commit to something, don't do it on WhatsApp. I'm gonna read it, it's gonna be nice, I'm gonna respond or not, or gonna have that message laying around for a month and after a month, like I forgot to respond to
Or if
this.
it's a voice note and like one of the things I dread the most is voice notes, and then you see 1 minute, 2 minute voice notes.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that in a few days.
And then but
Because you
then I
can't
do tell
glance
them
the urgency, right?
no, no, and then I do and I'm like, hey, if it's like really important, I'm just like send me an email. Please send me an email because my inbox is where we've structured things and I can delegate stuff that's not important to me but is important to others. Like if you want my commitment through WhatsApp, you're either not gonna get it or gonna get it, but I'm never gonna deliver on the commitment. And I do think it's fair for people to know that. Yeah. So what's next on the list? Uh, do something fun or unexpected to relax.
Did you
And if I
relax today?
nah nah nah, nah I tried, but it was like for 10 minutes, and then I had to get up and do something else. So,
Well, I would
but I
count that.
probably
Like when we're talking
yeah
about
I would
relaxation, like
I would probably after this will take at least 20 minutes to just zone out. So I'll count that as it gets done. Um, family time really important, by the way, really really important. Um, I did do that. I didn't put the kids to bed today, but I did spend a solid 2 hours with them, even if half of it was them on screens or watching something. But at least I got to spend time with them and they got to see my face, right? So
would
I
you
try to,
consider
yeah.
watching Mr. Beast with your kids relaxation time, or is that family time?
No, that's family time. That's family time because um, you discuss things with them, you talk
Yeah.
with them, you're focused on them. So I
So
think this is
relaxation time would be something for
where you
you
focus on
yourself.
yourself. So this is something quite interesting, and I'm not sure. I haven't fact checked this or anything. I haven't spoken with enough parents about this, but this is a major difference I think between men and women, or dads and moms in general. I feel when I'm with my children, my focus is completely on them. Like I don't wash dishes while I'm with my children, or go out and do something else and count it as time. No, I sit down with them. I am with them. I talk with them. They ask me questions. It's not like they ask me questions and I'm not there because I'm there with my children, but I'm not actually there, which might even annoy my wife because sometimes I'm there with my wife, but she asks me a question and I'm not
And you're
present.
not there.
Whereas with my children, that's never the case. If they ask me questions, I respond to all the questions. We talk, we discuss things. I'm fully focused on them and their happiness when I'm with them. So that's really family time. That's not for me. Then I don't count it. Right. And
Okay.
even if it's on their screen, I'll sit next to them, I'll watch what they're doing, discuss things, try to figure out what they find interesting as well. So those kind of things do count for me as family time. It's not like,
Okay.
oh yeah, I get to
I think
relax.
that's a good differentiation
Yeah.
to
But I
have.
think I'm not sure if it's the same for all parents, but for me, those 2 hours, like between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., that's time for them. I'm also
Yeah.
making a conscious effort to put the phone away because I feel if you have the phone in your hand, you would gravitate towards your phone. Or in some cases, we listen to music together or dance to music together. I'm now at the age that my daughter understands, and even my son, they understand like, hey, Michael Jackson is a real thing. Like it doesn't matter what generation you are. Michael Jackson works. It's just good music, good movies. Like the music videos are actual movies, and the dancing is top notch. So it's a whole package. So if you like music and your children like music, it's hard to not like Michael Jackson,
Mm.
especially the 80s Michael Jackson. It's like top notch. It's like almost the best there is, right? So that's quality time. Then another really interesting one is cleanup. I've made it a priority to also do cleanup. And it doesn't really matter if it's a digital cleanup or a physical cleanup, but I feel I need to clean something up every day, whether it's something in the house, something like in a specific room, or something on my desktop. Yesterday, I cleaned up. I'm not even sure if I'm finished. Yesterday, I cleaned up um, my
I do have to
Gmail, my
say,
private
yeah,
Gmail.
if there is something, at least in recent years, more recently, it does. It's a relaxing time. It for me, in a sense, like it just puts you on low mode and you just do the stuff, like not brainlessly, but you refocus your attention of all the noise that's happening outside, and you just focus that 10 to 15 minutes
If
on
it's
that.
physical cleanup, yes.
Like,
If it's physical cleanup, yes. I completely agree. The
even
digital
like
cleanup,
digital cleanup, for me,
yeah,
like,
no, because and in the end, one of the reasons I'm also doing the digital cleanup is because, oh wow, I think I deleted yesterday. I deleted over 60,000 emails.
mm,
I wouldn't think it would make a difference because these emails are like all with below like 1
yeah,
megabyte in
but it adds
size,
up.
but my inbox went from 99% to 83%. So that gives me some relaxation, right? And I think the next thing is to look at like what's everything that's coming in that makes no necessary sense. Like there's so many emails coming in that I'm like, hey, I don't need to get these emails.
Y-
And it's my
Yeah, one of the
personal inbox,
cleanups
right?
is like also, unsubscribing to all the things.
Exactly. So that would be like one day, and then the next day would focus on something else. And then what I also want to do is focus on cleaning up my phone. Like I want to have like at least once a week clean up my phone, and then not clean up my phone just throwing stuff out, but like categorizing stuff and putting it down because I have so much content that I haven't posted, which is just lingering around on my phone. That if I want to, I want to basically use that to say like, hey, I'm gonna clean up this specific event on my phone.
Yeah.
And this specific event will maybe have 1 up to 6 social media posts. And that also makes it easier to transitioning from cleaning up to actually creating content. So there's also that
Yeah, and
psychological idea
also
behind.
archiving and organizing it. You know what
Yeah.
I recently found out? You know how you enjoy the Apple ecosystem? We had that debate, I think,
Yeah.
last week about the Apple airdropping it to you with the iPhone and the MacBook,
Yeah.
easily airdropping it. I don't know when they exactly snuck it in, but there's an equivalent for Android with Windows PCs now.
Really?
Yeah, like nearby
Really? That's
sharing, just
interesting.
Bluetooth. And as long as you're signed in, you can just, without permission, just nearby share it, and it just drops it in the designated folder that you like put
Nearby
it in.
sharing. Yeah, yeah. I think they started implementing it with all those Kickstarter projects where all these Kickstarter projects were like, hey, we need to structure these things better and make more compatible that you can drop from your phone or your camera to your external hard drive and then Probably they were like,
Yeah,
hey,
because
we
now
should do
it's
it.
easy. You shoot a
Yeah,
video, 1 minute video is a few gigs because you shoot it in
yeah,
4K or
yeah.
1080, 60 frames per second,
And
and
just whoop,
it's
Bluetooth
just
it
over
over.
Wi-Fi, right? Because you
Yeah, or
just
Bluetooth.
detect the device. No, the
Yeah.
Bluetooth makes the connection, but once the
Ah, okay.
connection is made, the transfer is
Yeah.
over Wi-Fi speeds. So it's like
Okay.
blink of an eye. So no more
So
cables, no more offloading data.
I was at the Nacho game with Hank last Wednesday, and I charged my phone with his phone.
Yeah, the reverse charging.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. I was like, wait, that's possible. I can charge my phone with your phone.
Yeah,
That's okay. That was cool. That was cool. It wasn't really as fast and
no, that's basically
as
wireless
effective,
charging, right? But
but it was pretty cool wireless charging. It was pretty cool. So we're almost done. We're nearing towards the end. So cleanup is one. I haven't done that for 2 days, so I'm gonna. And then writing a public a diary. So that's something that I'm actually doing. I'm writing a 5 minute free write on Hive every day now.
oh, you're back on Hive. Okay, okay.
Yeah. I was like, where I'm gonna do it, like I can do it nice and
It's
quiet. There's no pressure.
is this decoupled from the book thing, or
Yeah, it's
are you still
completely
gonna? Oh,
disconnected from. No, no,
so
it's completely
there's no state
disconnected.
to kind of pressure you
No,
into.
no, no. There's no pressure. It's just like write down how the day went, and it's a very free flowing, not really considering anything, just writing down the process and the thought process, and no commitments, nothing. It's just 5 minutes of a blurt, standing it out there. Um, so that's the next one, and then I share it. For now, there is a connection in the end when I get a bit further because then it comes like a daily vlog, but I'm not in that mindset at the moment yet. Or a daily quote. I'm not even close to that yet, but I'm sending it per email to the mastermind group.
Mm.
That is something that I do. And then last but not least, give the day a score, which is basically just counting everything that I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that would be an 11 out of 20, which you might
That's
not consider to be
no,
good, but
it's more than
that's
50%. Like
yeah.
20
On a
tasks a
day
day
on a day where I
is
spent 4 to 6 hours on one specific task, that's a pretty damn good score
yeah,
for sure.
20 tasks is a lot.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
doable. I'm
depending on
gonna
how
get
you
a
define the task, right? But yeah,
I'm gonna get a 20 out of 20 score within the next week for sure.
okay.
And it has to be a weekday because on weekends the max score I can get is 16.
Because that eliminates the work stuff, right?
Yeah, so I've taken 4 things out, saying like, hey, I won't be able to do it this weekend because otherwise I would come to 20 tasks for around 18 hours and then I wouldn't have enough sleep. The current 20 tasks, I've also kind of estimated the task length and I just come out around just under 15 hours if I would do all the tasks within the set time frame.
Awesome. That was an exhaustive list of tasks and a very interesting challenge. And great that you're sharing it as well. And curious to see what the data will show in 30 days and what kind of conclusions or trends you've set in
Yeah,
stone.
I think what we can do is episode 160 we can
Yeah,
look
it's
back.
like end of the month, right?
Yeah,
Beginning of the month. Should be around
yeah.
social media day.
No, I think a little after. I started a little later, so I think episode 160 in that kind of time frame we can reevaluate, challenge yourself.
With that being said, looking forward to that evaluation. This was another episode of Social Confoes. Of course, Subscribe to our newsletter at confoes.substack.com. Subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/confoes. That's CONFOES. And also, we're on Instagram. With that being said, this was another episode of Social Condos. Chandu, roll us up.
Thank you for tuning in. See you next week, same place, same time. Bye bye.